I trained with Ricardo Rodriguez. I trained with there's a whole host of people that I just got to train with being out on the road as a manager. And after that, I started getting into matches as a manager, which is very awkward because I didn't go to traditional training school at that point. To the point where I finally had a singles match um, against Chris Evans, and Joey actually watched that match. He watched the live stream on that match for IWL, and he enjoyed it from what he said on Twitter. He enjoyed it, and that actually encouraged me to go ahead and get in the ring. Well, after that, I started getting booked in matches, and I'm like, I'm not really trained. I don't know. I don't really want to do these matches. And so I went to Santino Brothers the same year I started grad school in 2013. I did classes under Chaos specifically for about 3 months before he gave me my blessings to go out and work on the indies. And after that, it was just all you could eat classes right there at Santino Brothers. I was going to beginners, I was going to dance, I was going to Luces, I was just doing everything I could. And since then, it's just been a whirlwind of learning and sometimes failing. More learning. Got to do a couple of fun stuff. I love professional wrestling, and so sad that we can't really be doing it much this year. But it's been great, and I really enjoy doing these classes with you guys. And I was in the first course. I did a bunch of classes with everybody, and now it's nice to be here to see this new group that I've seen on Facebook a lot. So I'm stoked. I'm stoked to be here with you guys today. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, look, great having you. You know, I'm sure you told me the story, but now it's registering. You're saying since I commented on that match, it kind of encouraged you to become a wrestler. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So, right, we all influence people, even when we think we're not. We're just commenting, and it could change a path. So I'm glad that you're pursuing professional wrestling. Um, I utilize Ruby Rays a lot in our main events. It's always in the main event, and Ruby Rays is really what pushed us forward. We had Ruby Rays, and I don't think we had many other girls. I think maybe Thunder Kitty might have left at that time, or she might have still been around. And I know that we had Mariah Moreno, and she wasn't maybe wrestling as much, and so we have one female wrestler, and Mongo's coming from Slammers. And he is like, there is no male versus female. He is like, that is unrealistic. Like, if you met me and Mongo, like, we're a total yin and yang. Yeah, he'll tell you how, yeah, I don't agree with the male versus female. And so that's just how he came up. And I just said, hey, I don't have anybody else for her to wrestle. And then so I think it started with, well, he was like, I'll be okay with you put her in there with the small guys, because then it looks like she can power them around and this, that, and the other. And so I would do that, and it became out of necessity, really. Just, we have Ruby Rays, and how are we not going to put her in a match? How are we just going to have her on the sidelines when we have this talent right here? So I'd always have a spot for Ruby Rays. And we started doing a lot of intergender wrestling, and I think that's how it always started. We never were like, I'm an intergender a wrestling guy. It was just, well, I have these wrestlers, and that's what I always call them. I have wrestlers, and they need opponents, and if we just break it down with male and female, then usually if you're lucky as a female, like in this class, if you see this in this class, Ruby, there's at least 5, maybe more, right? Maybe 6 female potential grapplers in here. And in a regular class, you're lucky to get 2. I think Heather started with a class of 5 female potential grapplers that started with her. By the end of it, it was just her and Guy Cool. And that was it. So if she wanted to wrestle, right? If she wanted a training match or a practice match, she had to wrestle Guy Cool. And I always put it into every potential grappler that comes in. I always say, you're a wrestler first, right? We don't. A slam is a slam, and it doesn't care if you're male or female. A superplex doesn't care if you're male or female. It's just, really, you got to be tough. And there's some males that aren't tough enough to take a superplex from the top rope, and it sucks. My brother couldn't take it. He would be like, you're crazy. And the same thing with females that can't take it. So you just have to be tough in professional wrestling. And I think we got really known to do a lot of intergender matches, but it's always been out of necessity. And then just now, I'm glad that it just became kind of like second nature, at least sometimes, at least on the indies for sure. Not on a national stage, but it was when I was coming up. They had intergender matches all the time. And as I look back, I guess the guys never were supposed to touch the girls, but they would always hit them with their finishers, or vice versa. The girl would come off the top rope, and Lita would hit the move on the guy. And so, I don't know why it's so crazy, and the major companies are against it. Maybe not so much AEW, but I know WWE. I think WWE did Nia Jax and Randy Orton standoff once, and I'm pretty sure they've done more than that. But yeah, I love intergender matches. Always wrestler versus wrestler to me.
Hey,
Yes.
I gotta point this in there though. You're
Yeah.
saying there about maybe you don't always have to pay your dues. That's exactly what I had to do at Santino Brothers though, because I started off against the little guys and the Genos and stuff like that, and then I asked for a match against BC Killer, and I was straight up told no by Joey. And then I was like, "Are you serious? I want to wrestle BC Killer." He's like, "You got to go through Moms then." And so I went to Moms, and I was like, "I want a match against BC Killer." So I literally had to claw my way up through intergender at Santino Brothers. That was rough. And it took me 5 years before I ever got a title match at Santino Brothers.
Really?
Yeah, I kept track.
I know, and I'm putting myself over in the main event over there, right? I'm talking about I don't want to wrestle no more. But yeah, no, 100%. Pay your fucking dues. You have to. Truth is, you're gonna see people that don't, and that's it. You can get mad at them. You can have a grievance with them. You can be bitter towards them, and you're just gonna be taking off time of your day. You paid your dues. That's it. You probably learned something. And if you're like me, and you didn't become the WrestleMania main event like I was supposed to, that was in my plans. That was in my plans. You're able to do other things in wrestling. Talking about, like I was telling you guys last week about Aaron Sandow, and he's coming down to the Indies, and he's learning from me, Mongo, and David Marquez about the independents. Because he says I just went to WWE, and he didn't really wrestle on the independents, so this is all new to him. And so you're always going to learn something to be utilized. So. But yeah, so we have Ruby Reyes here. She'll be. I love Ruby Reyes being here today. She'll give her insight on selling. We'll be talking about selling, different types of selling, right? Selling the moves, the ring work, selling kayfabe, selling the body parts, selling the promo. We'll talk about that. But I got a couple of, Matt, I think it is advertisers are scared of that probably, right? Snickers not going to want to advertise male versus female in a fight because they're thinking it's UFC or boxing, But yeah, going on the intergender. But Matt Wall had brought up an incident called Heat Wave 2000, and he says, "Our Heat Wave 2000 is where a group called ECW, right? Everybody knows who ECW is, and a group called XPW, which was like the West Coast version of ECW, and there was an invasion." And Matt asked, "Is there any lessons that can be learned of that?" And he asked, "Is there any lessons that can be learned?" Because my ass was in the front row causing a lot of havoc that started this ECW, XPW incident. So I'll tell you a little bit about the story and how it happened and how it went down. So there was this guy named Rob Black in Southern California, and I think I might have told you a little bit of the story about how Supreme and I would always have a hard time just getting a ring, having a ring available to train in. We'd always had a problem with it. So we heard this guy named Rob Black, and actually it was brought up to me as, "Hey, did you know that they're going to start this new porno wrestling?" Porno wrestling? What are you talking about? Porno wrestling? Yeah, this guy named Rob Black, he runs a porno company, and he's going to start a wrestling company. Oh, I guess great. More places to wrestle, the better, And he goes, "Yeah, they're having a tryout this Saturday." And so the thing that Supreme and I thought was, we don't get to go to a ring. First of all, even if we wanted to pay, they wouldn't let us go to the ring. If they would shun us if we were looking at the ring and say, "We were here last week. Can we use the ring?" So this was an opportunity to use a ring for free and didn't have to pay for it. So I was all game. Let's go down. We'll try out. I guess we're not going still in. I'm just, some of these guys are pros. We're messing around. We do what we do. And so we get on this company called XPW, and we get on board because Supreme and I weren't juiced in. We weren't the guys from Slammers or from the Southern California scene. The way it really broke down was Rob Black wanted a couple of guys to go through tables and be on video, and so we were all about it. So we were all about it, and we were 100% down, and they loved our attitude for that. And we got a spot on the roster for this huge show at the Reseda Country Club. And we would find out, and we would bleed XPW because we would now become so down for this company that would give out T-shirts to their wrestlers. And there was nobody giving out T-shirts. There was no one that had a T-shirt in professional wrestling at this time. Well, as we went to the venue the first day, they had a ring skirt that said XPW. The only other place that had a ring skirt that said a name on it was WWF, because I don't even think WCW had their name on it at the time. It was just blue. So this was like interesting and big time, and they started using XPW or ECW wrestlers like Big Dick Dudley and later on Shane Douglas and Sabu. And we later found out about why this guy Rob Black was so into trying to make it the West Coast version of ECW. It's because when Paul Heyman was going to get his TV contract with, I think it was TNN, the Nashville network, he totally cut ties with Rob Black, and they were actually good buddies. They were in talks to bringing ECW out to the West Coast. Rob Black was going to promote it, and they would send all the ECW wrestlers out to Los Angeles. And so when Paul Heyman was getting his TV deal, he just totally cut ties with Rob Black and said, "I don't even know that asshole," because he didn't want to be associated with a guy that ran a porno company, and he didn't want that to jeopardize his TV contract. So he just totally shunned Rob Black. And that, if anyone ever met Rob Black, that pissed him off to hell. Like that, it now became his personal vengeance to compete and even take down ECW. The wrestlers, we were just pawns in his game, to really be honest with you. We just had a great opportunity. We were the first wrestling company on DVD because he had all the production value. Even before WWF, he had it nationwide in all the Suncoast videos in the malls in America. And so Rob Black takes out a one-page letter in the wrestling magazine called Wow. And he just really just shoots on Paul Heyman, just really shits on him and shoots on him. And they publish it in this magazine as an ad. And Paul Heyman sees it, and obviously pisses Paul Heyman off. And so for whatever reason or another, they decided to come, ECW decided to come to Los Angeles, California at the Grand Olympic Auditorium 1 week before we were going to have our big show with Sabu versus Terry Funk. So ECW shows up at their big Heatwave 2000 pay-per-view at the Grand Olympic Auditorium. And I don't know about you, but we bled XPW, and we felt like, fuck these motherfuckers coming into our backyard. I think they made it as close as to Houston, and then nowhere in between, and they shot all the way to Los Angeles. So we felt that was, they were doing that to kind of shut us down, shut us up, and really suck it to us, So what Rob Black decided to do was he was going to get his wrestlers front row tickets to this pay-per-view at the Grand Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles. And so he gets Supreme. Christy Miss was a valet there. Chris Kloss was front row. Messiah was another wrestler. Homeless Jimmy and myself, and we're all sitting front row. And the whole idea, we go into it, there was no plan to invade ECW. It was just we wanted to go in, and we thought we were going to sit on the hard cam where we'd be sitting down and the camera would be on our T-shirts. We actually were sitting where our backs to the hard cam, so we were in the wrong spot anyway. But all we wanted to do was actually sit at the pay-per-view with our XPW shirts in the front row. So as soon as we get there, they go, "Hey, you're wearing an XPW shirt, you can't come in. You got to turn that shirt around, or you got to take it off, or you can't come in, that's it." And everyone's got WWE shirts and other indie shirts at this time, and obviously ECW shirts. So definitely we feel like, hey, we know that they even had a guy there pointing everybody out. They had a couple of people pointing out who the wrestlers were, because they knew about XPW, but they didn't know specifically who we were. So they got to tell us, who's this guy? That's Supreme. Who's that guy? That's Messiah, and so forth. So they said, hey, you can't wear your shirts. So we show up there and we're sitting there and I'm actually talking to Supreme and Messiah. And I say, man, I feel like a fucking mark just watching, just sitting here watching and not cheering. You know, and deep down inside, we're like, me and Messiah are marking out. Like, we're like, hey, I'm nudging him. Hey, did you see that? That shit was cool. But we're like, you know, the orders were just like, don't mark out for these guys. We're being assholes. Really, we were. And so we decided, hey, well, we're not sitting here to be a couple of marks. What are we supposed to do? Well, let's turn our shirts in right side out, and that's it. We even asked Atlas Security. We said, hey, what are we going to do if you turn our shirts the other way? He goes, well, we're going to escort you out of the building, quote unquote. Okay, well, this is going to escort us out of the building. We already saw all the pay-per-view, so the time comes, and we didn't want to interrupt a match, but we didn't want to go between matches either, right? We wanted to kind of have some focus there. So we decided right before Tommy Dreamer and Just Incredible locked up, they were standing off in the ring face to face. We all decided to stand up, take our shirts, and put them right side out, and get escorted out of the building. So the whole day was tense. I remember Rob Van Dam said something to us. I remember just people always peeking out from the back, looking our way. So everyone thought something was going down. We had no plan to do anything. We were just going to show our shirts. We're not going to jump the rail. Like, what are we going to do that for? Never crossed our mind. So we stand up, take our shirts off. And before we can actually even take them off, Atlas Security grabs our shirts, grabs me by the neck. I think they tried to pull Chris Kloss over. And the whole ECW, during the pay-per-view, I might add, the whole ECW locker room pours out to the front row, and they are trying to pull us over the guardrail, because the idea is, if we're over the guardrail, then we're open season, and they could just all jump us, really, because we tried to jump the ring. So we knew better, so we kind of stood away from the guardrail. I think some shirts were taking, and Atlas Security takes us out to the back. And I remember some old dude in a beige suit spitting and punching on Messiah, who was in front of me. Didn't know who this guy was. I was a fan. And as we come out to the outside, we get thrown out. We have LAPD. Now they have us. And Paul Heyman's there in our face, spitting at us, while the LAPD is there. And just really pissed. We interrupted his pay-per-view, this, that, and the other. And my buddy Messiah was like, no, we didn't. We just wanted to show our shirts. You guys started this whole thing. We get pushed outside. They close the doors. All of a sudden, 10 minutes later, like, the doors open, and we think Supreme and Homeless Jimmy is going to come out. And it's the ECW locker room, like Chili Willy, Kid Cash, Big Mama Luke. Just all these ECW guys come out, and they're coming towards us, like, ready to, I guess, beat us up, really. I'm looking at, like, I guess we're going to get jumped. We're not going to run. I guess we made that decision that we weren't going to run. So I look at Billy like, I guess there's only two of us. You know, we're going to get a couple of swings in, and then we're probably going to go down. So I'm scared. Billy, on the other hand, my guy Messiah, my best friend Messiah, this guy is like a Jedi mind trick master right next to me. I'm sitting there like a little chihuahua shaking like, oh, shit, it's going down. And I look over to Messiah, and he's just standing there like just stern face. They come walking up, and I remember even Tony, I think it was Tony Mama Luke, big dude, and he was like, hey, what the fuck? You know, we're going to, you know, what the fuck you guys doing? Disrespectful. And Messiah stops him right there, even puts his hand up like he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I always tell him that. He put his hand up like he's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he said, hey, listen, we just wanted to show our logo on our shirts. You guys started all this. This is your fault. And he actually, this is your fault. These guys looked at each other. These 10 guys looked at each other side to side. They kind of went like this. He's right. And they walked away. That Billy, like, what did you just do? Like, how did you just do that? Like, we really just disrespected their show. They came out. There was nobody else out there but us and them. And he just got them to go. And so the next day, you know, XPW was known all over the world. We were in Japanese magazines. We really made a name for ourselves, and I think to this day, It is the only true invasion in professional wrestling history. Tommy Dreamer went up to us and said, "You guys just killed your career." Fast forward, is that true? No. Did I feel it to be true probably 10 years, 12, 15 years ago? Yes, I did. I felt it to be true, but I was an underachiever and didn't apply myself enough using that bullshit as an excuse. Wasn't, it didn't kill my career. I being an underachiever did. But it really helped us out. And we never tried to do anything. We just were going to sit there with our shirts. We weren't going to invade the show. We weren't going to jump the rail. But ECW was on edge because there was a lot of history between Paul Heyman and Rob Black. And there was some fighting going on. I think the guys that actually left us, and they went and fought some of the ring crew that was passing out flyers for XPW. I think Dynamite D got sucker punched, I remember hearing. But I remember we just got in our car and left. And there was no drama. We heard a lot of the fighting happening after. And then a lot of the story the ECW wrestlers will always say to this day is that they beat us up. And I just feel like you guys don't remember Billy saying, doing this thing. Like, because he totally did, just said, "No, we don't want none of your drama. We're out of here." They were like, okay. But Matt brought up, is there any like lessons that can be learned? And I'm sure there's a lot of lessons that can be learned. Would I recommend you doing that? No, not whatsoever. Did it kill my career? I mean, I would say that Tommy Dreamer was like director of talent relations in WWE probably within 5 years of that time. Did it kill my career? In my head, I believed it. I don't think it was true. But I'll tell you this, the lesson to be learned is that do you have 5, 10 years to sit there in your wallow that I fucked up, I didn't understand what I was doing, and why we were just going to a pay-per-view to show our shirts. We weren't going to jump the rail. We didn't expect any of that to happen. We didn't expect Tommy Dreamer to say, "You guys just killed your career," but it did. I think it's more so of being an underachiever, and then probably messing with my head. So would I recommend you doing that? No. I could only imagine somebody coming to my show and doing that. We totally would bring you to the back and try to beat you up the same way. 100%. Like, you're putting in on a small show for a wrestling school. Like, we just did one in January, right? We did it was a big show for us. But you're putting in at least $5,000 for a wrestling school. And you're gonna have, these guys that are just your quote unquote rivals come in there and fuck with your money. Like, yeah, dude, somebody's gonna kill you. You ever watch these first 48 shows? They get killed for like a dime bag. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if someone pulled out a tire iron out of their trunk and beat you with it. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. 100%. I mean, that's my brother, who I said it's not crazy enough to take a superplex. If he heard that happen to me, he would take this tire iron, probably even get his gun, and yeah, he wouldn't let that happen to his baby brother. But yeah, so if someone tried to mess, I wouldn't recommend it at all. Do your own. Focus on your own. XPW, we were renegades. Supreme and I, we didn't know about this wrestling business, and were we brainwashed a little bit? Yeah, we were drinking the Kool-Aid over there at XPW, but I think that it took all of us to do that in order to make it a name in professional wrestling at the time. But yeah, I totally wouldn't recommend that in trying to invade anybody. Imagine when you're going to, some of you will become promoters one day, and imagine someone trying to do that to your show. How it would make you feel, how much vengeance you'd want, how much you'd want payback probably on people. Did it mess my career up? I don't know. There's a lot of ECW guys around, maybe, but I talked to a lot of the ECW guys. Did they want to kill me at the time? Yeah, they wanted to kill me at the time. I did an X to the hard cam, and they wanted to kill the guy that did the X to the hard cam. And Danny Doran said, "That was you? We wanted to kill you." But we were friends at that point. There was no hard feelings. Same thing with New Jack. Like I told you guys about New Jack, he let me and Supreme come into the ring for his retirement. And he was on the other side on ECW. So I think a lot of the wrestlers were fine. Just Incredible, he was his match that happened. I got a chance to apologize to him, and he was fine with it. Even Rob Van Dam, I think years later at that point, there was no problem. I think if I probably would have talked to him at the time, it would have been a different story. But yeah, it was just a dumb kids doing dumb shit, really. But at the same time, we were known worldwide by the next day, because it was on a live pay-per-view, So we were did did we get a lot of offers for bookings? Hell yeah, we did. Did we take them? No, we were loyal to XPW for some silly reason. We were loyal to XPW, so we wouldn't wrestle anywhere else. But yeah, we had offers to all over CZW and all over the East Coast and Florida. Even I think Supreme took his offers in Japan and even Mexico, but in the United States, we didn't take any other offers that we had gotten. So, what lessons to be learned? Can you make a name for yourself doing something like that? Yeah. Can you plan it? Probably not. No, because we didn't plan to do anything like that. We didn't plan to be known by the next day in all the magazines in Japan. Yeah, so I don't think you can plan. It has to probably happen organic. But there was a lot of heat there. There was an incredible amount of heat. Like, if you asked me, I'd probably be like, man, at that time, I was probably like, man, fuck Van Dam or fuck anybody on the ECW roster. And really, I think you had to have that feeling, and that it's like what I told you. You got to have a little bit of motherfucker in you in order to be a professional wrestler. You can't just be yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You can't just be that person. You can't just be a really good helper and helping out in the ring and showing up early and staying late, but not actually asking for, hey, put me, like what did Ruby say? Put me in the main event. Give me a shot. Come on, man. Are you going to get it? Probably not, but will you get it if you're persistent enough? Yes. Will you get it if you don't say anything? No, because you're not giving yourself a chance to fail. You're not giving yourself a chance to be a part of the audition. So you have to speak up.
Those mouths don't get fed ever in professional wrestling.
No, they don't, right, Ruby? I mean, it's nice to say, hey, just do what you're told and keep your mouth shut and your ears open, and that's rule number 1, and I'll tell you about that. But you gotta be that squeaky wheel. You will get the oil, you won't get anything, right? No one's thinking about you. No one cares, right? No one cares. Work harder. No one's thinking about you. Even though when you think they're thinking about you, even though when you think they're shitting on you and hating on you, they don't even thinking about you. They don't care. I think it feels better to think about somebody hating on me. At least they're thinking about me, But yeah, the truth is, no one cares. Everyone's so busy in their own damn life. That's the truth, So, hey, speak up, speak up, speak up. Yeah, Chaos never pays attention to me. He never puts me in the main event. Speak up then. Say something. Come up with an angle. Write down an angle and say, here's an angle I can do. I could take out Ruby Reyes' leg, and then we could be in the main event, But yeah, give ideas. You got to become creative. Because no one's just going to say, wow, Willie, your character and your wrestling is so great. I'm going to hire you. We like to think it's that way. Sometimes it's not. A lot of the times it's not. You have to apply yourself. You want a WWE tryout, I don't care how great you are. You're going to have to apply yourself, And if you're to that point where you're great and they know about you, you're not going to really want that WWE tryout at that point, So, the XPW heat wave, or ECW heat wave, XPW versus ECW. So, yeah, there's some lessons to. I wouldn't be that jackassish, but I think you still need a little bit of motherfucker in you to draw outside the lines, 100%, because you'll get left behind in wrestling. People will forget about you. I saw Matt post about Hulk Hogan. You ever watch him before work like that? I always loved him. He had a match with the Road Warriors. That's when me and my uncle used to watch with Hulk Hogan, and just to see that the man can work, right? I think he even talked about that. Like, I don't know a wrist lock from a wristwatch, but I do know when I do this, the people react. Does he know how to work? Yeah. Can he throw a drop kick? Can he work that style, like that Japanese style? Oh, hell yeah. But what's going to make him the money? What's going to put him in the main event? What's going to put him in the history books in professional wrestling? Doing this shit. Being a character. Having personality. having character. That's really what's going to right because he had that work ethic. He was trained. I'm almost certain if he wasn't trained in Japan, he was trained by a Japanese wrestler who broke his leg the first day of training and said, if you're tough and if you really want this, you'll come back. Just took his ankle and just cracked it right there, or just cracked his leg. And he did. So, yeah, I think a lot of people think Hulk Hogan as a pushover, but, yeah, you don't get your leg broken on day one and come back for more. It's rare that people come back after a broken bone, huh, Ruby? I mean, come back to just wrestling training as it is. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
Honestly, it's rare to see anybody get a big injury in training and come back afterwards. And then you got people that are taking those big injuries and do come back, and then you're just like, well, hey, you made it back. Like Jake with his neck, like Brody with his shin. Like, and I could go through like a list of names of people that actually came back to Santino's after they got hurt in training, and they're doing great.
Yeah. But on your first day, can you imagine purposely getting your leg broken and then told, oh, I'm sorry. Fuck this business. I'm out of here. I'm going to go do something else.
Hey, honestly though, sometimes you see people taking like a pulled muscle and they're not coming back to training. Like, I'm not trying to say that. Well, no, I'm trying to say some people are just soft. Like, you have to be built to be a wrestler. Like Chaos is saying, you have to be tough. You got to be able to take the hits and keep getting back up. And some people just, and I'm not trying to knock anybody out. I don't know anybody in here. So I'm just saying, like, you got to be tough. You can't be soft. You have to pick yourself back up always, whether it's an injury or whether it's Chaos yelling at you, Mom's yelling at you, like someone yelling at you. You just got to be able to pick yourself back up and keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is. And it's not right. It's not just physically tough, emotionally, mentally. It's all across the board in professional wrestling. Right? It's like I often say, you're not supposed to get kicked in the teeth, but you will get kicked in the teeth. It's just a matter of time of it happening. Is it supposed to happen? No. But will it happen? Yeah, it will happen. You might lose a tooth. You'll get bloody. But that's just professional wrestling, and that's the love of the sport. That's the love of the sport. Of just being very passionate about what we do, and understanding that taking a bump is like a 35-mile-an-hour car wreck. That's what it does to your body. So, hey, taking a boot to the mush, it's going to happen, right? But what did I tell you about that? Feed in so you can get out, right? So you can get the hell away, right? If you're just here, I'm just going to get kicked in the teeth and that's it. So, but yeah, Hulk Hogan working in Japan, I always loved it, and always surprises a lot of people. But yeah, the reason being, in my opinion, Matt, is that wrestling the WWE Hulk Hogan style is really where it's at, right? Is he working harder in Japan? Yes, but you can't take away the hard work that he's putting in the United States to draw the asses into seats. So it's just a different kind of work. I like to try to find it in the middle somewhere, but maybe if I'm at Hulk Hogan status, I'd be all about it and not want to don't torque my knee, don't hit me too hard. I'd be probably all about that. Not saying that he is, because I don't think he is. Hulk Hogan looks like a tough fucker. Matt also asked about getting heat with a gimmick in today's wrestling. Is that like hating on today's wrestling as your gimmick, like the Jim Cornette thing? I wouldn't do it. Jim Cornette can do it. First of all, he don't care. Second of all, he's Jim Cornette. Like, he has a following, from the years of service to the industry. And for the most part, I mean, I think a lot of times once you get past the silliness of Jim Cornette and you actually listen to what he's saying, it makes a lot of sense, But I think what happens is you can never convince a youngster about the old school ways, or on average, you can't really convince all youngsters of the old school ways and vice versa. Me being a youngster, I start adopting the old school ways right now. Like, I used to be a video game guy. Lock up, kick you in the gut, whip you to the rope, clothesline, pick you up, another move, pick you up, another move. Like, now I'm under the understanding of don't pick your opponent up just to hit him with another move. Go for the cover first. That's just my psychology of the way I like to think now. And you fall into that if you're lucky enough to be in the business long enough to change the way you think. So yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't utilize it as a gimmick, Matt. But I'm gonna be honest with you, do it, 100%. They told the Young Bucks, don't wrestle that way. You know, they told them that's the don't throw so many super kicks, quit slapping your leg. They told them everything in the book, and they created a rival to WWE. You know, just doing their shit their way, right? I always say, like, sometimes you just got to stop thinking about what you think people want to see and just give them what you feel, and you can't go wrong, right? Give them in your heart. So that would be but understand, you're going to get some negative feedback, you're going to get some backlash for it. Stay true to it, because if the Young Bucks listened, we probably wouldn't have AEW today. You know, I'm not saying it's all the Young Bucks, but they were a major part of it. You know, so if they listen to everybody that said you're wrestling wrong, you're killing the business, you're doing this, that, and the other, you know, if anything, how could they be killing the business when they created another company for a lot of wrestlers to wrestle at? You know, so you got to look at it that way. And they went against the grain. So I would tell you I wouldn't recommend it, but I'm gonna say, hey, if you're feeling it and that's coming from the soul right there, do it, man, 100%. You can't be wrong. You
Can I ask
know?
a question?
Yeah.
Because this is Matt, right? Matt Wall.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one that posted that.
Yeah.
The promos that I've seen you done to this point, they're quality. Why would you want to go away from that? Like, your character is completely believable the way you do these promos. Like, and then you have this other gimmick that you wanted to do, but you're so believable in what you're doing right now, and it seems to be very fitting. And I completely dig it. Like, I'm not sure why you would want to stray from
I don't want to stray from it. That's what that was supposed to be. So
The Death Calhoun character.
yeah.
You know, I would say keep going with it. You'll know when you're like, hey, that was a little too. But who are you gonna piss off, really? Do you care? You know,
No.
because a lot of
But
people.
I also want to work. I don't want to like not be able to get a
Look at
job.
Orange Cassidy.
You know?
Like, I like to say, look at Orange Cassidy. How many Memphis? I don't know if this is true. I like to think Memphis. How many Memphis promoters are like, I hate that guy. I'll never use him. This and the other. He's killing the business. But look at him. He's in the main event with Jericho. At least a couple of months ago, he was. You know. So yeah, are some people going to hate you? Probably. Did you have something to add, Ruby?
there's also fallout though, because if you look at what he's talking about, Matt specifically, is something that Ryan Kidd did back in the day. And I don't know if you guys know Ryan Kidd here from the independent scene, but he did something kind of like what you're saying, and he started kind of calling out indie wrestling as being fake, or going against the internet darlings as you were going against. And Tony Kozina just whooped his ass in a match, like really bad. And there was a really big downtime for Ryan Kidd. I know you know what I'm talking about, Tilly, right?
I've never heard of this.
How did you not hear about this?
And I'm pretty sure Tony Kozina whooped his.
Tony Kozina whooped his ass like bad during a match, and Kid got kind of blackballed for a while there. And this is when he was still young in the business and young as a person. Like, he might have been 20. So there is the big possibility of backlash, and there's a possibility of stuff actually happening. So there's two sides to this. It just depends on where you want to go.
Yeah, I didn't know that about Ryan Kidd. I did not know that, right? So
I will shoot you the match. The match is on YouTube. It is brutal.
What would Mongo say, though? You better train in order to kick some ass so no one goes in there and lays a hit on you, you know? That's what he would say. Oh, jeez. But yeah, so yeah, just understand the different, like, I gotta be honest, like, Orange Cassidy probably has a huge amount of backlash, but you got to get through that in order to get your point across. So I think if you have passion in what you do, it will work, and it can work. And then even if what you're talking about, there's a lot of fans that love Jim Cornette. Like, you could be a part of like his fan base, and that could really help you out and help out your wrestling career. But I also do understand what Ruby is saying, that how it can hurt your wrestling career. So I guess if you're
because like I only feel like I have a few years like of being able to do anything in a ring. So I don't want to completely fuck myself. on in-ring work just because I want to piss a bunch of people off, you know.
Why would you
but
think
like,
that you only have a few years of in-ring work right now?
because I'm 42.
And how many
So
people
I'm
out there are
thinking,
older than you that are still wrestling? Like, it's all going to depend on you. Everything's going to depend on you. Like, age is arbitrary in this business. If you would have told me that you were 42, I wouldn't have guessed that you were 42. So it's just all about how you work and how you're keeping up with your body and your health and your injuries and everything like that. That's on you. We had Silverado, and how old was he when he started training?
49, 50? Yeah, 48. He graduated when he was 50.
And then he went to Japan and wrestled in Japan. Like, and you have people like Balloon that are older. Like, it's all on you. So there you go. I'm 21, whatever.
But yeah, follow the rules, draw within the lines, do everything you're asked of. But is that going to get you booked in what you want to do, man? So maybe, sometimes you got to give your passion and your heart, you know, and that's how you feel. Like, look at Jim Cornette. Like, he's got a following. Yeah, at first he was getting a lot of backlash because a lot of his following, weren't on Twitter at the time, and now they are, or they're on YouTube or wherever they are watching him. And honestly, like, hey, slow down, sell this. You know how often I think I sound like an old timer when I'm telling these people, when I'm agenting matches, to slow down, sell, facial expressions, you know, let the camera see you, then move around, you know. But it's coming from a young dude who is like all about video game wrestling. So I think it's great stuff, right? I like to think about selling, right? That's what we're gonna talk today about selling, right? What's the main thing that a lot of the the newer wrestlers today do? They don't sell enough, right? I think it's just a new wrestler thing. I don't know if it's an indie wrestler thing. I think it's more of a new wrestler thing that they just don't sell. I remember the first time I was getting stumped in the corner, and I just wanted to smile and be like, this is stupid. Like, what am I supposed to do? Act like this hurts, right? And then you do that, right? What do they do? What do they do, Ruby? They stomp the shit out of you, right? You want to make me look like shit? All right, I can make it hurt if you want, right? And then quickly that smile was off my face, and I was all about the selling, right? So important, selling in professional wrestling. Did I do it enough when I was young? No. My sell was I would get hit with a move and I'd be knocked out. That was my selling. That's not selling. I don't know. That's being knocked out, I guess. And you're probably not even doing a good knockout. Like, you know what I mean? I used to be knocked out with your fist in the air, the way we see it on World Star Hip Hop. But yeah. So let's dive into that a little bit of selling, talking about selling, and what we can get and what we can benefit from selling in professional wrestling. So, right, there's different types of selling the ring work, selling the move, selling the body parts, selling the kayfabe in professional wrestling. Is kayfabe alive? Yes, 100%. 100%. People will say that kayfabe is dead. I don't know if that's just a gimmick, like, right? You say kayfabe is dead so you can keep kayfabe alive in the backstage, but no, 100% to me, it's alive and well, and I'll talk a little bit about that today. So selling in pro wrestling, right? As in life, there are different types of selling, right? What does it mean to sell? Well, I think the first thing we think about is selling the move, right? So obviously, I get punched in the face. What should I do? Right? I need to sell it a couple of ways, right? So what are we selling with? We want to sell with our body language, right? So I get hit in the face or I get hit in the stomach. I want to react. I want to take my hands and hold the part that was hit. You know, I want to sell with my voice. Like when I was wrestling New Jack, or even when I wrestled Tyler Bateman, they sometimes scare me because I'll punch them in the face and they'll go, out! Punch them again, out! And I go, are you okay? And they're, yeah, bub, just selling. Okay, so we want to sell with our voice. We want to sell with our body language. We want to sell with our facial expressions. And we want to sell with our eyes, right? Going back to this promo shit, right? Like Slice. Fuck, you know, Coach, you're the only one that's all about the eyes, man. You're the only one. You're all about the eyes. Yeah, I'm all about the eyes, 100%. Selling with your eyes, and that's where the selling starts, right? You get punched, show me in your eyes first. The windows to your soul, right? What are you feeling? Then when it comes to your eyes, covers your face now, right? It's almost like a tear just came down over your face. Then what does it do? Comes over your body. Just you can react, right? Because I always think that not enough people, well, they'll get punched in the face and they just kind of just stand there, punch, 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 right? At least, how about this? Punch, put your hands up like, oh, I'm getting punched down. And then how about when you're coming back to set to get punched again? Your hands can go down. But at least you're showing that, or you're even reacting, holding your nose, holding your chin, holding your stomach. Where do they hit you? Hey, have you ever seen someone get do an enziguri, right? Ruby catches my foot, and she's looking at me, and I'm hopping on one foot, and then all of a sudden I give her an enziguri, but I give a shitty one because I'm not training enough, and I'm not practicing enough, and I hit her right in the shoulder. And then what does Ruby do sometimes? Not Ruby, but what does the indie wrestler do? They hold their head because the enziguri is supposed to get hit in the head. Just sell what happened. So if Chaos didn't get high enough and I hit her in the shoulder, she's going to hold the shoulder. Is she going to maybe react, and maybe is she going to sell with her voice as much? Probably not. We want to gauge it, right? We don't want to just be one tone. Ow, ow, ow. We can't do that, right? We got to, same thing. We talked about gears and tone changes in promos. We talked about gear changes in the actual match. Same thing with your selling, right? Like even in a video game, the character sells when the meter's down, right? You're getting shot at enough. The guy's now holding and he's moving a little slower, and you're like, don't get shot again. He's gonna die now, because you know it. But hey, when it's the beginning of the game, he could take as many shots as he wants. Too much of that has been going on in professional wrestling. Just no selling. Register it. Right? What's the spot? I don't know. Maybe the spot is up and over, and Ruby Reyes gives me a clothesline, a back elbow, a back body drop, and then clotheslines me over the top rope. Right? So what is it again? Clothesline, back elbow, back body drop, a clothesline you over the top rope. What is it again? Clothesline, back elbow, back body drop, clothesline over the top rope. So we start saying it like that, and then what happens? We go out there and we think we got to do clothesline, back elbow. No, it's clothesline. Hit it. Even if you're bumping and feeding. What's bump and feed? Bump and feed is she's going to hit me with one. I'm going to register it. I'm going to hold maybe the back of my head, hold my chest, hold my face, get up, turn around. Like I'm going to get her, and she's going to hit me again. But the spot isn't clothesline, back elbow, back body drop. Although it is, it's actually clothesline, sell, back elbow, sell, back body drop, sell, and then the back body drop. Oh my gosh. You ever seen, who does it well? AJ Styles or Shawn Michaels going up for a back body drop? Their face is up. Their eyes are open. AJ Styles does this cool little swim move in midair. Like I've never seen anyone do it like that. And it's incredible. But he's selling it in his face on that big back body drop. And then he's holding his back, and you can see the distress in his face. And at that point he's still trying to bump and feed, but he's getting up a little slower because this is the third bump. And as he gets up, he can only turn around just in time, right, for someone to clothesline him right over the top rope. He hits the apron, bounces off, and the guy's in the ring, right? And maybe Daniel Bryan's doing the yes, and AJ's holding his nose on the outside. He's selling, right? Why is he holding his nose? Because maybe as he came tumbling over the top rope, his face hit the apron, and then he rolled back. And he's showing his disgust, his facial expressions. So important. So when we call our spots, although they may be called very fast, let's never forget the sell. I always like to say the sell is the spot. It's so important to get a match like now we're going back to that match breakdown. And I'm the heel and I'm beating Ruby down. And if every time I hit Ruby, she just she does the Dolph Lundgren, she just turns her face and looks back at me. I hit her again and she looks back at me. You know who's going to get the sympathy there? Probably me. I'm going to get the sympathy there, right? But if I say, hey, look at that, she looks and I give her a sucker punch and she sells it and she even goes, ow, like we can hear her voice. And then I jump on her and start taking my thumb and I gouge it right into her eye and she could hear her scream. She's probably going to get a lot more sympathy because she's selling it. But what happens when I take my thumb and I gouge her eye with it? Then I walk away to jaw jack with the crowd and then I jaw jack with the ref. And I come back and Ruby's mounting a comeback, but she's not even holding her eye anymore. She's not even doing one of these. Like, that's so easy. Yeah, what happened? Oh, I got poked in the eye. Well, what? How long ago? Like, probably 10 minutes ago, and I'm still like this. Like, yeah, you know how, right? So let's think about that for a moment. How many of us have been poked in the eye? Couple of us here? If you haven't been poked in the eye ever, you ever poke your eye, ever get an eyelash in your eye, right? What does it feel like? Your eye starts watering, you start rubbing it, you're squinting, try to rub it, you probably put water in it, it still won't let you open it, and you're just like, right? Same thing in wrestling. We want to think about the sell. So when I get eye gouged, I'm always thinking about when I got poked in the eye. If I've ever got poked in the eye, or if I ever felt any burn in my eye, or if I rubbed my eye and it just rubbed it the wrong way. And I always think about that, and I'm always selling because I'm using my hands, my body language, my facial expressions because I can't see. Maybe I'll even do one of these. I don't want to be too hokey about it, but just kind of like hold on to the turnbuckle, selling it, start looking. Right? Isn't that what we do? And I start taking these instances in life. Like, I tore my ACL. How does that feel? It's terrible. It's terrible, right? It's this sharp pain, and then I bend my knee back, and it pops back in, and you wait there, and you wait, and you wait, and there's no pain. And then you go do a drop down again, and it pops out, and you're like, oh my God, I should probably sit out now. There's something wrong. And so I take these instances, or if I stub my toe on the coffee table, how do you act? You're holding it, you might even be bouncing, you're just, what are you doing? You're kind of overreacting. Usually with a toe, we're always overreacting. Paper cut, what are we doing? With a paper cut, it's always like, what are we doing? Body language, facial expressions, right? Start thinking about these instances in your life. Have we been injured? Who's been injured? Anybody have broken bones, injuries? Anyone's been hurt? Right? Let's start thinking about this. I've been hit right here to my kidney. Oh my God, you ever see those boxers go down from a body shot and you're like, come on, get up. No, that body shot will put you down if you've never had it before. So you got to take these times in life. You fall off your bike, what happened? Your elbow messed up? What were you doing? You're holding your elbow like this, right? It's hurting. You put your elbow down the table. Oh, that hurts, right? That's a wrestling thing. I always like to tell people that, how about when you're selling your back and you roll over? Oh, you should arch it because it hurts to put any pressure on your back. So you're almost doing a bridge because it hurts that much to touch that part with the mat. Thinking about the same thing as the elbow. I put my elbow. Oh, anybody ever have that? That hurt in their elbow? They put their elbow down on their desk and they're like, what is that sting? Right? And what are we doing? We're holding it. We're giving facial expressions, body language, and it's in our eyes too, right? Sometimes when you get hurt, you have fear in your eyes, don't we? We have fear in our eyes sometimes, especially, I don't know, I hope no one's been hurt in a fight. That's real fear in your eyes, right? So what are we doing? We're in a fight, in a professional wrestling match, right? We're fighting. And so when we get hurt, right, we got to think about that, right? I can't just put it hurts, but maybe I have fear, right? Some of the best video work is done who was it when the Undertaker came from under the ring? Was it Kane? Who did he suck under the ring? I think Big Daddy Cool. I think it was Big Daddy Cool, and he brought him under, and just seeing that video of him getting sucked in under the ring by this Undertaker, the living dead guy. You know, that facial expression. I'll always remember that. What do we always remember? At least in my era, I always remember Stone Cold Steve Austin, blood coming down his face, going through his tooth, reaching out, and then finally passing out to the sharpshooter. You know, those facial expressions that go such a long way, right? It's more than just the actual match. It becomes what they say in WWE, these moments. These moments. How do we build these moments through selling? You know, it's so important to actually sell these moves, and it just starts with reacting with just right with your facial expression, your eyes, your body language, you know. So it takes, and selling with your voice, it's so important, right? I think a lot of people, and even me, I'm guilty at it, that I leave my voice out of selling. Ah, just doing just doing little bits, you know. But if you're gets people's attention. Are you supposed to do that all the time? No, because we don't want to be always up here. We want to come down, go up. We want to show some of these moves hurt more. Sometimes the move hurts and I can't even say, I don't say anything. You know, maybe you're just screaming. You ever heard screaming enough in wrestling? It kind of makes you feel like, oh, what's going on? It's this different. You know, it makes you go think it's different. Almost borderline of uncomfortable. Like what's right? That's why we never want to fight in the middle of the ring. It's uncomfortable for people to watch. They're not there to see a fight. They're there to see professional wrestling, and it's something different. Um, selling the body part, Ruby Reyes. Do you have anything to add to these details, or adding some details in the selling?
I think one of the things that I wrote down about something you were saying about the eyes was something that I learned from William Regal, and that was Regal says the eyes are always first, and then the eyes to the body part that's hurt. So first expression in the eyes, then the eyes go straight and looking at whatever is hurting right there, and then you grieve the part. So it starts with the eyes look at the body part, and then that's when you sell the body part after that. That's what I learned from him. Another thing that I'd like to point out when it comes to first selling is kind of something you touched on a little bit, that this is also the difference between selling and registering. There's two parts of selling, is registering the shot and then selling the shot. So I'm going to use a forearm, for example. And I saw this weekend at the wrestling show I was at. A girl was sitting there getting forearmed repeatedly by Miranda Alizé and doing this. And then she turned around and she started forearming Miranda Alizé, and Miranda Alizé was doing this. So the register is actually what happens when you're being hit. You don't want to just stand there and just absorb it unless you're like Brody King getting hit by someone like Eli Everfly. You want to register, and that's a snap of the head if you're getting forearm, movements in your body, and just that thought of like what happens when you actually get hit. This is the reaction at the time of being hit. You want those reactions at the time of being hit. And then afterwards, that's where you go into the selling. And I think a lot of people forget, because they're thinking about the matches and what's going on, that you're getting kicked or you're getting punched or you're getting stomped. So don't just stand there and absorb everything. Move your body in with it. And this will also play back into what Kios was saying earlier. If you know you're going to take a boot in the corner, don't just sit there and take it. Lean out a little bit, and then when you get hit, there's your register right there. You're snapping back, your hair's flying, or whatever's going to happen when you take it. So that's always my big note, is the big difference between registering a shot and selling the shot. There's two parts there, and adding both together, that's the magic, in my opinion.
I think most everybody will register. If you're not at least registering it, it's looking really bad. I'm sure it's looking really bad.
I've been seeing a lot of not registering lately.
Really?
A lot of it, yes. Just sitting there, just taking it and like not.
You know what? You're right. I even see this on TV where they just take the punch and then just punch back. Just take no register. Like forget selling it. They're not even moving their head. Or yeah, I have seen that. So you're completely right. Joe, you had a question, sir.
Coach, how do you, let's say you're being hit too fast. Like, let's say they're giving you a combo and they're not giving you enough time to like register each hit. How do you adapt to that? Like, what's a good way to like work with that?
Slow down. Say, hey, slow the fuck down, right? Because full speed in professional wrestling is not the same as full speed in real life. You get a lot of MMA fighters or boxers that come into wrestling school and they're like, punch, punch. No, punches, boom, boom. That's fast punching. Boom. I guess like I'm a guy who loves Stone Cold. I don't know if I love his. I'd like it a little bit slower. I like the way Triple H actually holds the head and hits. I think that looks a lot better. Yes, Ruby, you were going to add to that?
My compensation on that, particularly because like I just worked with Lindsay at Primetime, and I've worked with other MMA shooter types and other people with quicker hands, is I just start covering up. Because what would happen if someone flurried you in real life? I'm going to cover up whatever part of the body is. If it's up here, throw your hands up here. If it's down here, cover. That would be the compensation, because that's honestly what I would do in real life.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably good advice. I probably would be covering up and say, slow down. Like, come on, man. I'd be worried about you're gonna punch me right in the lip. Come on, not today. I'm tough. I know it's gonna happen, but not today. Like, you know what I mean? Sage mentions, I hate the ghost sell, the hit your head and sell your gut thing. Yes, I see a lot of sometimes insuguris like that, right? You get hit in the back of the head and they take a back bump. Oh, I hate that. I might have been guilty of it a couple of times. Or there's the what is it? The phantom clothesline, right? The phantom clothesline is when I give a clothesline and it's supposed to be ducked, so I'm gonna lift it up to here, but I'm lifting it way up to here, so it looks like, what are you even trying to do? And then Joe's going to be like, well, he said clothesline, so now Joe just reacts to getting hit to something that's not there. My hand's over his head. I've done it. I've done it multiple times. Read what's going on. I'm going to also tell you, it's my Uncle Supreme Tommy, never lift your hand on a clothesline. Like, a duck is a duck. If I tell you, Rhea, duck the clothesline, then duck the clothesline. That's it. Like, a lot of people like to do this, put their head down. And one time they did that in Japan to my uncle, and my uncle broke this guy's nose. Just broke it. He was a foreigner, right? And they were all pissed at him. They were pissed at my Uncle Supreme. Broke this dude's nose. Like, what, you don't know how to work? You're a backyard. He was in a backyard wrestling game. So they were like, what are you, a backyarder? This, that, and the other. And he goes, I don't know about Japan, but in America, when we say duck, you fucking duck the clothesline. Case closed. Case closed. Like, hey, how you gonna argue that? Hey, you're right. In Japan too. What the fuck? You didn't duck, bro? No, I guess he didn't duck. But yeah, duck the clothesline, right? Because you're gonna get that phantom shit. You're gonna lift it up, and someone's gonna take a bump. So at least if you give a weak clothesline, you're still gonna hit them right in the chest. A duck, you're supposed to duck it out or break their nose. That's what my uncle taught me. So just duck the clothesline, pretty please, with sugar on top, and never lift your arm up, right? Because now we're going away. We're doing all this selling to make the match look great, and now we're lifting our arm up because it's supposed to be a duck clothesline. Takes us out of the game. You know, it's like seeing the production guy in Mandalorian. You know what I mean? It just takes you out of it. So, but yeah, I totally hate that one. Yeah, Matt was going to ask about the phantom clothesline. There's a lot. There's a lot of phantom lot. Like, I always will tell people, right, lean in. If you lean in, there's a better chance that they'll make contact. Sometimes I'll even let them hit my hands. Maybe if it's a drop kick to where, hey, they can say he tried to block it, he couldn't, but at least there's some contact, because I might react, because as wrestlers we react. If it's a miss, we might react. You might laugh at the person taking a phantom clothesline, but it may happen to you. You know, has it happened to you, Ruby? You ever take a bump and someone said
maybe when I first started off, but I also had Bateman teaching me really early, if it doesn't hit right, don't sell it right.
Oh,
so I've gotten those enziguris to the shoulder where you're just like
brushing it off, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, I think Ruby brings up a great point about registering, right? Even registering. It's just because in real life, we can get hit in the face and we don't sell it. We're going to sell it afterwards. Me and my man, I'm fine. The adrenaline gets you going, you know. In wrestling, we're telling a little bit of a different story, right? It's like a movie. Guy gets punched, he's selling it, you know. And it's big deal. And they get slammed around, thrown into the wall, and they're selling that so that they don't just really get up from it. If you ever watch these movies, like even someone like Mel Gibson, right? They jacks his shoulder up to where he can't. He's got to sell his shoulder until he snaps his shoulder back in place, you know. And it makes it a great drama point in the climax of the movie, you know. And so think about it the same way. So we're going to register, right? We're not only going to sell with our facial expressions, our eyes, our body language, but also our voice, and right, where are we getting hit, right? So if we get hit in the head, you feel it in your head, hold your head, chin, shoulder, back, stomach. Register it by actually bringing the hands there and holding it. Joe, someone's punching you too fast. I think Ruby brings up a great point. Blocking it. I think there's not enough blocking in professional wrestling as it is. Not this block. That's like the I don't know. I guess it's real. What's more realistic, this one or this one? It's probably more this one than actually stopping somebody. A strong enough boxer could punch right through that, and you'd hit your own hand. But I'm pretty sure you could be strong enough to block it. But I think there's got to be more blocking in professional wrestling. You know, even to the point of if I'm blocking, punch it. Punch my hands. So then I can start dropping. And now I'm open. Now I'm just taking shots to the face. It makes it mean so much more. How about selling right now? We're selling the moves. Okay, it hurts, right? We get that now. We're selling that the moves do hurt, right? We're registering it, facial expressions, holding our stomach, our back, or our shoulder. Okay, but also at the end of the movie, right? It's the hero doesn't just, right, in a wrestling match, we don't just run up the ladder and get the belt. What do we got to do? We got to climb up the ladder. Same thing as in I'm on the floor and I've been getting beat up and I'm trying to get up. And maybe I'm first of all, I'm selling with what up? My head up. A lot of times people like to sell like this, head down. I get kicked in the stomach. You didn't see my facial expression, did you? Kicked in the stomach. You still didn't see my facial expression because you got to go, get kicked in the stomach and your face comes up. You know, so I think that's so important. So we want to sell with our head up. You know, okay, you might be getting taking a move, a brain buster, a suplex, getting punched in the face. But for the most part, head up. Even when I'm crawling to the ropes, I don't want my head down. I want my head up so I can grab the first rope, grab the second rope, and pull myself up. You know, and I want to register that. Do I want to do that every single time? Do I want to do that at the beginning of the match? No. Think about it as your video game. You start with your full power meter, and it starts going down, and the more it goes down, the slower you get. You know? The more it goes down, the slower you get. So I think it's so important to thinking about that. There's I'll put a match in tonight. I always liked watching Delilah Doomsell, and I always thought she is a really great seller. The match that I actually saw it for the first time was when she wrestled Heather Monroe, and I just saw her climbing, and I had to stop her and ask her. I said, "Man, like that's great selling. It's just this night and day," and it gets me thinking, like, "Oh, I gotta get my guys to step up their game," because she was like really on point with her selling, and did she do cool moves? Probably. Did she do, did she have great gear? Yeah, good entrance, good song, this, that, and the other. Yeah, probably. But what did I notice? What stuck out like a sore thumb to me was how she was selling. You know, we get a tryout. They're gonna look at a lot of other stuff before you move. They're gonna look at your footwork, your timing, your pacing. You know, your selling. That's what they're gonna look at. It's so important. You know, because a lot of people can do cool moves, but really that's selling, and I think also like timing, pacing, and footwork is like right in line with selling, right? Your timing and your pacing have to be on par, right? I can't just take a move, kick out on 2.9936, and then just jump back up. Yeah, I get it. There's always that instance where this is my fighting spirit moment where I've seen it, right? Where they take a big German suplex and they get up and they're like, they're fighting, right? I can buy that shit, I could buy it. That's me though. Maybe other people can't. So I get that there's going to be spots like that, but for the most part, you want to register it as in trying to building your comeback, fighting from below, right? We're never just going to make the big comeback. What did I tell? I think I told. I don't know what class we were talking about. Maybe it was last class. Maybe it wasn't this class. But if I'm getting beat down by Willie, and I'm trying to mount a comeback, and he's stomping a mud hole, and I'm on the ground, and then he goes over and jaw jacks with the crowd. The referee tells him something, and he yells at him, and he comes back over to me. Maybe he gave me enough time to maybe my stomach is on the floor, my legs are on the floor, but I'm pushing up, almost like a like they call it cobra in yoga. I think it's called cobra in yoga, that cobra pose. And now as he's coming at me, I can now be in cobra pose, like I'm getting up. And as he comes closer, I can swing one punch and go back down. And hopefully he registers it and sells it, which gives me enough time to now maybe even get my knee under me. So now I'm on one knee, and one hand here. And as he comes back, I can punch him again in the stomach. What do I do now? If he registers and sells it and doesn't cut me off yet, because the heel has that power to just cut me right back down, maybe now I get up to 1 foot and one knee. And now I'm as he comes back, I hit him again. Now I'm up to 2 feet. He throws a punch, I block it, I hit him again. I didn't just come back on him. I had to fight from underneath. And I think that's so important. And it builds so much. What does it build, right? What are we saying? We're trying to build our comeback because it's leading to what? The climax of our match, right? It's leading to our comeback and the finish, which all of that is going to be the climax of your match, right? The best part of the movie, And so that's what we're building towards. And so if you do it that way in your body language, right? As you're getting up, as Willie keeps registering and sells and comes back, my face is up. I'm selling my face. His face is up. He's selling his facial expressions, and we're both now providing this performance, right? A performance in professional wrestling, right? But that's what we're doing, and we're taking our time. There is no rush. I get it. They might say, hey, take it home, take it home. Too many people panic. When they say take it home, you have to get certain points across. Don't just go home. I guess you could. They said take it home. Yeah, I meant take it home, but go home. Like, do the whole go home sequence, right? And so maybe that's what we want to do is build up to that climax. And I think it's so important fighting from underneath and building your comeback, fighting from all the way on the floor to cobra pose with one hand. Push. Maybe you didn't even get a push. Maybe you didn't get a punch. You got a push. You got to push your opponent away. That created a little bit distance, timing, footwork, right? And you're able to get up a little bit more to 1 foot and one knee, and then you could punch him. As he registers and sells, you can get up even higher to 2 feet and punch him. Now you could block a punch and hit him. Now you can march forward on him as opposed to being on the floor. You're marching forward. What does the heel do? The heel marches backwards, right? So now we're also like all that is visually showing the selling in the wrestling, right? So we can register, we can sell the hit, right? Then also you want to sell that moment or that spot. Or I don't know what would we call that, Ruby, right? Sell that moment of us being beat down, but never giving up, because people love that underdog story of not staying down, getting back up, fighting another day, right? I think we all sometimes feel like that. So that's what the people like to see. That's what the audience likes to see. They can relate to that. Right, I don't win all the time.
That's
lose.
The sympathy.
Yes.
That's the sympathy, and that's part of what makes Delilah Doom such a great baby face. Not only does she have that baby face fire, but she has that cell where she gains the sympathy and her head's up, and she's believable with her voice, with the way that she's arching her back or grabbing a spot. Like nothing's hokey. It all seems very genuine to what she's doing, and she will fight from beneath. As you were talking about, like me and Delilah are pretty much rivals in independent wrestling right now, right? So this has been going on for years and years. We beat each other up all the time. But there'll be times where we're in the heat and I'm going to grab her by, the nose or the ear to pick her up, and she just swipes at me. And she's taking those hits she's trying to hit me from beneath, and I'll give her a shot or two and then cut her back down. Or she'll give me a shot and sell it, and then I'm like, no, F you, and I, smack her hard. But that's part of what people want. People want to see the baby face, the underdog, not giving up, because it gives them I think it gives them hope. Like, it gives them hope, not only for their character, but they translate that to their lives. And when they're down, when they're, trying to fight back from whatever goes on in their lives. And there's this huge psychology component to it. And I don't want to get too far into it right now, but it all starts from never giving up, from selling really good, and in my opinion, and maybe I'm overstepping right now, never going from zero to hero. Never going from absolutely nothing, being beaten down, to all of a sudden you're Superman, nothing happened to you, and you're beating your opponent's ass. That's not how you're beating sympathy. You want those working up stories to help invest people, to make them believe in you and believe in what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ruby, on that. Like, it's so important, selling, because it will. And for everything we're saying here, like I said, there's always going to be an exception. You're going to say, what happened in Japan? Look at it, like Vampiro taught me about taking 6 for 6. What's 6 for 6, Vampiro? Okay, so I'll hit you with a power bomb. Sell it, get up. You hit me with a power bomb. I'll sell it, get up. I'll hit you with a German. You get up, and we'll do that. We'll do 6 moves, 6 for 6. Okay. And then I started learning and understanding different psychology, right? This is the Japanese fighting spirit psychology. What's the lucha psychology? Different psychology in lucha libre. They're more so of actually what you watch today. At least that's how I grew up with lucha libre. Fast pace, not selling so much. But it's incredible, right? I think lucha and maybe even indies get a lot of heat for not selling enough. But at a lucha show, I remember having Jezebel sell a pile driver. Pile driver's banned in Mexico, right? Pretty much even banned in the United States, besides the tombstone. And so what she did was she sold it, right? Body, like, didn't move. But so what I told her to do, I said, like, so they're gonna put you in the neck brace, to put you on the stretcher, and then I want you to to scream out like Joey, I'm scared. And so she did this like curdling scream, and it added so much to the realism of professional wrestling, because now you're going into, or at least lucha libre, going into it of this move is banned. She's getting stretchered out. And what do most people do on the stretcher? They give a thumbs up, but now she's screaming and not even saying, right, but this is our inside fourth wall thing. Like, she's not going to say chaos. She's going to say my real name. And I think it adds so much to the wrestling match. You can start thinking to yourself, well, I could do less. You're not really doing less, because you're working your ass off selling. You know what I mean? It's like what we talked about. Is Hulk Hogan not working as hard as in Japan? He's working different. He's working hard. He's selling. He's doing different types of selling. And we'll talk about that, right? There's more selling than just actually selling the move, selling the moment. When I'm in a match, and I might have told you guys this already. When I'm in a match, specifically when I was in a match with, I think it was with B-Boy, and Rick Knox was my referee, and my point is I try to sell something to the point of I can get Rick Knox or the referee or my opponent to say, "Are you okay?" And I because that's my Tyler Bateman moment, and I'm just like, "Yeah, bub, just selling," And so that's my goal. Is like, if I can get the referee and my opponent who's in on it, then I got the entire crowd. I know I do. I have to believe I do. I know I do if I got them. Because they're asking me, "Are you okay?" They're squeezing my hand. They squeeze my hand. You all right? Yeah, I'm good, man. Right? And I'll do that usually like with a neck breaker, selling that neck. Right? And I talked about it. What happens when you sleep on your neck wrong, right? That's another injury or something that we get hurt in real life. What happens? Start doing this. What did you say back there? You don't turn your neck. It's real like that. We hurt our back. What happens? We're squatting down to pick something up because we can't bend over because that's going to hurt, So taking these instances and just really trying to apply them to a match, and I went that step further, was able to apply it in the match until my opponent or my referee said, "Are you okay?" Now I know I'm doing an incredible job at selling. Utilizing times in my life where I was really hurt, slept with my neck the wrong way, whatever the case is. Hurt my shoulder in football, whatever the case is, right? We have these instances. Hey, I slammed the door on my hand. Cool, man. So you know how to sell a fucking hand now, right? You know how much it hurts. You start remembering, like I couldn't squeeze my hand, fully tight for a whole year, right? That's a hand injury. It's terrible. So when they're beating your hand and pilmanizing your hand, right, taking the chair and putting it between the chair and smashing your hand, right? You should refer back to those times where you've actually really been hurt, and it's going to help you out tremendously in selling. So on selling the body parts, selling the moment, right? The body language, the eyes, the facial expressions. Does anybody have any questions about that? Pretty straightforward. Rhea? Yes, Rhea.
Is it better to oversell to a certain extent than to undersell?
Is it better to oversell? Well, let's see. So you're going to have two arguments on either side. I'm going to say better to oversell because when we're new and we come into wrestling, what we think is selling larger than life ain't even close sometimes. Sometimes it's over the top and too much, and we'll tell you that. But a lot of the times it's hard to, or it's harder for the new grapplers to give us a good sell. So I would probably say give me more of an oversell. What would you say, Ruby? She's in the office.
I probably no. I'm actually gonna say I'm gonna tell you oversell, because when you don't oversell, if you're underselling, I'm gonna wind up stepping on your hair and making you stay down or cranking something and make sure that you're selling.
That's another one right there. So I'm in a match with you, Rhea, and I give you my greatest move that I got, the boot to the face. And you just no sell it. You don't even take a bump. You do one of those lucha things, spin off, and then I punch you in the face and you just no sell it. I body slam you, you just kind of get back up like whatever. You know what's going to happen next? I'm going to kick your ass, and then probably going to be people in the back that are going to kick your ass because do they got Chaos's back? Yeah, maybe. But whose back do they got? They got pro wrestling's back, and you're making a mockery of professional wrestling. So, yeah, I think Ruby makes a great point. To oversell is better to undersell because you're going to take one to the grill if you don't. And you're going to be – and then you get scared. You're like, what happened? What did I do? And by that point, the wrestlers had enough of your shit and probably not going to explain anything else and just keep whooping on you in the realm of a professional wrestling match.
It's happened to me plenty of times. No offense to girls, it's happened a lot with girls where if I'm giving them my bigger moves and they're getting up really quick, and I'm like, you're getting up before I'm getting up. Why is this happening? You took the move, but you're on your knees before I'm even anything. Because I got nice at one given point, my compromise is I get up and I step on their hair so they can't get up. I'm stepping on your hair, you can't move. But I've also seen the other side, and I'm sure I've done the other side, where if you're not selling my big move, why aren't you selling my big move? Why aren't you selling my forearms? And that's when the forearms become stiffer. If you're not selling them, if you're not registering them, or chops become stiffer or whatnot. Again, it's just how I was taught. And if I'm giving you the benefit of taking your moves and selling them big, it should be reciprocal. And that's the whole point of this business, is to not just me make you look good, or not just you make me look good. It's we're making each other look good. So let's sell each other's moves.
Yeah, 100%. I got to make you look great, and I hope you make me look great. And at the end, we have a great match. Who are some of the best sellers? I seen someone put, The Rock sold the Stunner the best. Do I think The Rock? Hey, right, it's subjective. I like his selling. I think it's a little too cartoony, but I think it's still professional wrestling. That's what it is. Who do I think that are some of the best sellers? Top of my list is probably Steamboat, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. You know, right? I talked to you guys about. He taught us that you have to register. You can never get hit more than 4 times without registering something back, right? Pushing, at least throw a punch back to the stomach. Another great seller, I think Daniel Bryan. Right? If you want to look at modern wrestling, I think Daniel Bryan is an incredible seller, right? In many different ways, right? Not just selling the moves, right? Selling that he's believable character, you know, selling like right. Even when he was the yes guy, right? I think a lot of people believe in that, but I think even when he had the wooden belt thing, I think that was like a believable character, something that something that a vegan from Washington may do, right? I don't know. I'm Californian, right? But that sounds about right to me. Um, as far as cartoony goes and selling, I think the cartooniest I want to go, and it's pretty cartoony, is Mr. Perfect. I always thought Mr. Perfect sold incredibly well. Different types of selling, right? He's a different type of seller than Steamboat, isn't he? Right? Steamboat's selling that moment between the moves. He's selling the moves 100%, don't get me wrong, but Steamboat's selling more of that moment. Where Mr. Perfect, obviously being a heel, he's selling getting bounced around the ring, right? They are playing 2 different roles, but also obviously selling 2 different. How about Bret Hart? I think Bret Hart is an incredible when it comes to selling. I think he's really good. I like Dolph Ziggler also. I think Dolph Ziggler is the second coming of Mr. Perfect. I think he sells incredible. Right? I think he takes incredible bumps. Right? He's a great bumper, and I think he's a good seller. Like he makes stuff look like he got destroyed. Like he'll take a drop toe hold, and he'll look like his face got smashed into the steps or whatever he's taking the drop toe hold into. And he's got just this unique way of just making it look great. You know. How about Sami Zayn? I think that guy is probably watching World Star Hip Hop when you see his body movements, how I don't know, he does like some kind of like weird thing with his legs. Like he looks like a dude who got knocked out and his legs are on Dream Street where they don't really bend. They're just stomping straight legged, But yeah, I think he does great. Even sometimes I think I've seen him sell. Who he reminded me of one time is there's a Christian everyone used to take the stunner. But when, right, we talk about The Rock taking the stunner, he goes flying back. Christian would take it. He would get stunned. He would come straight up and then just crumble straight down. Dead weight body. I always thought that was a great sell. Never gets any credit. But yeah, look for it sometimes. I think he did it mostly the same way all the time when he took that stunner from Stone Cold. Cesaro, I think great selling. If you want to watch some great selling. How about Ric Flair? I think that Ric Flair is great. I really didn't like his fall on the face. I never liked his fall on the face. And I'm watching World Star Hip Hop one day. This guy gets knocked down. He gets punched. He goes down. He gets straight up. He does to Ric Flair. He goes straight down. And I was like, what the fuck? I thought that was some corny ass Ric Flair shit. And this guy's straight up. He got right back up like he was going to fight. And he just tumbled. He went straight, like exactly like Ric Flair. And I was like, there's no way Ric Flair stole that from this guy, but he must have seen it happen somewhere. I always love Ric Flair selling. Even Ric Flair's begging off to Vader. I used to always watch those matches. Thought it was great. How about Brock? I like Brock selling, right? It's different. He's not selling the movie. He's selling his character. He's selling that he is a beast. He's selling that you actually probably think he doesn't love wrestling and he's just showing up for a paycheck. How many people believe that? Anybody? No one? One hide? Right? That's the idea I get is a lot of people think that he does not love her. You gotta love wrestling to do this. Especially the way he does it. You're gonna throw your head into the fucking corner pole and get color the hard way and you don't love this shit? You love it. You're a sicko. You love it, right? And he does. But his character is that I'm just here for the payday. We buy into it so much we think that's who he really is. Why is he showing up year after year after year after year after year after year if he hates this shit? He loves it. He has to. Take those bumps? Hell yeah. Ruby, who are some of your favorite sellers?
Oh, I was just putting him in the chat right now. Honestly, and this is maybe I'm just biased, I'm going with Bateman as my top seller.
Oh my gosh, Bateman, incredible.
When I wrestle him, I would even question if I hurt him. And that's even despite our long relationship. Like, Peter Avalon is another one, especially
Yes.
with his facials and everything.
Yes.
I also put down Ray Rosas, obviously Delilah Doom. I watched a ton of indies, so those are my favorites. The other one that I was gonna choose is I don't know if people know him, but he's out of Texas. A guy named Ryan Davidson. I always really loved his selling. I'd watch him. If I go for WWE, it wasn't Ric Flair. I don't like Ric Flair selling.
What about WCW though? Maybe his WWE stuff was no good.
No, I'm not. I've never been a big Ric Flair on selling. Steamboat, yes, because I think, and maybe this is where July got it from. Like, Steamboat always had that big sympathy factor with him, and he drew you in with it was the eyes and the way he looked at the crowd when they got him. It's like, if I'm gonna go with one, I'll go with Steamboat. But watch Bateman.
Really good.
Bateman
Yes.
selling.
Yes. You know what's a good match? Bateman versus Ruby Race. I mean, I'll put that in the in the link. You mentioned Ray Rosas. Ray Rosas, when he cut a promo, right? I think I told you guys about, right? Me and Ray Rosas had a falling out. Then he came back, and he came back with the promo, and he was like, "Oh, you guys are feeding off the success that I put in, the work that I put in. I used to represent the eyes," is what he says. Oh my gosh, sold me like $1,000,000. I loved it. He was talking smack on me. And I thought it was great. You know, watch his Ray Rosas versus Jake Atlas. I thought they did a great match. I'll put that one in the link also.
The promo from the Ray Rosas, what was it? The Prodigal Son Returns. It was after mine and Jake Atlas's match.
Yes.
That's where he cut the big Prodigal Son Returns. That is a really good promo. That's a good sell. I think though. I'm sorry to go off. We're still talking about selling and promo, selling your character, selling what's going on. The thing that I really love about us at Santino Brothers is something that Bateman taught me about, where we do weave real life in with what's going on in wrestling. So a while back, me and Bateman were in a relationship. We had a falling out. We actually ran a program with me and Bateman where I was having to cut promos against my ex-fiance. He's cutting promos against me. We had, a couple matches. Weaving that stuff in together, where you're mixing a little bit of reality and a little bit of non-reality together, I think makes the best promos. So you have those ones. You have the Prodigal Son promo, and I don't know. I honestly, all the hate promos. Hate was a group that came up about, what Joey's talking about with the falling out with Ray Rosas. All the hate promos, a lot of those were really good, and I think it's because of that factor where you could touch on reality, not completely dive into it, weave it in with the world of professional wrestling, and that's, in my opinion, where the magic always is. Always.
Yeah, 100%. I was just talking to a guy named Shane. He does camera work at Primetime Live, and he was telling me about, he goes, my dad got me into wrestling, and he used to go to the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And then, all of a sudden he was like, "Hey, Shane," and he's like working, doing camera work. And he's like, "Hey, Shane, like, we're good. There's going to be this Santino Brothers show, and we're going to go to it." And so they go to it, and I guess Shane knows about Santino Brothers, and he's a fan of it. And so the dad keeps asking his son all these questions. He goes, "Man, that was my favorite show that I've ever been to." And then so Shane tells him they're a school. And he's like, "They're a school? Like, all this drama in these matches, and they're just a school?" And I think that he went and bought a bunch of stuff at the merch to support the school. But yeah, we really tried to dig deep into these promos, into the matches, to sell the match, right? We've been talking about selling the move, selling that it hurts, right? But there's also the different aspect. We talked about how Hulk Hogan can sell asses to seats. And that's what I think, like Ruby Ray's and Bateman and Ray Rosas, and that's what they were doing and making, and not only selling asses to seats, because people were really on the edge of their seat into the storyline. The lines were so blurred, like Ruby would say, they were so blurred. People didn't understand what was real and what wasn't. And that's what people love about professional wrestling. I know WWE's fake, but this shit's real. They love saying that in the indies. They love saying that. You know, and so when you bring that in, and even if you don't know, you make your little vignettes, people will now understand that Ray Rose's had a falling out, or Ruby Ray's and Tyler Bateman were an item, and now they're splitting up. And there's another girl involved in this match, right? And one of the craziest things that Eli had, he goes, I want this shot. I don't know if you remember this, Ruby, but he wanted the shot where Ruby is picking, after it's all said and done and Bateman hits. I don't want to spoil too much, but Ruby's getting up after the shot and she's just blood coming down, and the camera pans out of her face, and in the back is Tyler Bateman with his new woman, and it was just, you just seen Ruby just like reaching out, and your heart can only help but go out for her because you're feeling it, right? In the realm of where you're like, hey, wrestling's fake, right? Kayfabe is dead. No, it ain't, man. We're making people believe.
I actually had Soraya Knight reach out to me because of that shot.
Really?
Yeah, she was upset by it because she knew the whole story. Like there were other indie wrestlers that were reaching out to me because of that. Like that shot, Eli called it. That's what he wanted, and that sold the whole gimmick. Ooh.
Right? It makes you think it's real, right? Hey, are they gonna get pissed at you? Yeah. Hey, they're supposed to stab me in the fucking parking lot because I'm such a great heel. That's where I want to get to. Do I want anyone stabbing me? Hell no. Well, my life in jeopardy. Do I want to have the story? Oh, hell yeah. I got everyone so fucking pissed off they try to kill me. Like, you want to dig that deep. And right, I speak where it becomes tough in professional wrestling, right? You've seen it happen on TV with Matt Hardy, Edge, and Lita. Oh, you guys want to have something going on? Or this is the biggest talk of the internet, so we're going to put it on television. Was it uncomfortable for them? Maybe. Did it make great TV that makes you remember it and people talk about it later? Yeah. You know, and I think that's really tugging at people's real heartstrings. Going back to Angel, my buddy Angel in a Lucha show, turning heel for the first time and making the ladies in the front row cry. To the point of the promoter was like, I can't have this happen because the ladies don't want to pay to come see this shit no more if Angel's going to be heel, so you got to go back to being face. Within 1 week, they did it. But just to know that he was able to get that reaction and make somebody cry in the day when people say wrestling is fake. So I say it's not. You know, it's not fake. It's only as fake as us talking right now and me giving you behind the scenes. But I'll tell you 100%, if I'm in a match, I'll make you believe. It's my last line I have on the notes. I can't make you believe wrestling is real, but I can sure as hell make you believe that I'm real. Johnny Valentine. You know, right? So I think that's a great line for Matt, right? We can hate about what's going on in wrestling. We can, and this is so, think about what he's saying right there. I can't make you believe wrestling is real, but I can sure as hell make you believe that I am real. This shit's been going on forever, Matt. This shit has been going on forever. It's nothing new about how the new guys aren't selling enough. They're not making it real enough. This is Johnny Valentine saying this years ago. So he said, hey, I can't control it. Booker's going to book who they want to book, but I can control what I do. You know, and I think that's so important of keeping that kayfabe alive, right? Because then people really believe, they get invested into your match. If me and Ruby are in a heated match and there's a lot of drama behind our story, and then we go on Twitter and say, oh, that was a great move, Ruby, I really liked it, send me some more matches, kind of takes us out, right? And you're going to hear that a lot, and people are going to come argue with it. This is my stage name. When I'm on Twitter, this is my real person. I think that you are that wrestler. That's a difference in professional wrestling. You're not Tom Cruise and Jack Reacher. You're just Jack Reacher in wrestling. That's it. You're just Jack. That's who you are. Do people want to change that? Yeah, but no one wants to talk to Adam. They want to talk to Braun Strowman. You know what I mean? They don't want to know him as Adam. No, they really want to talk to Braun Strowman. That's who he is. It's the weirdest thing. You know, it's just how it is. You get so involved. It's like when we're watching Sons of Anarchy and Jax Teller is there. We want him to beat Jax Teller, and then we find out he's British. He's got an accent. What the fuck is going on here? I want Jax Teller. You know it's true. You know it's true. That's what the people want. You know? That's what they want. Maybe you could break through and you become Tom Cruise one day. You're just a star, right? You're like The Rock, or it's just a Stone Cold. But you know, for the most part, you are your character, and it's just how it is. You could try to keep it separate. I've seen hey, I'm not saying you can't. I've seen a number of people try to do it. They end up just morphing their whole thing together. As this is me as a wrestler, it's just all together. They try to keep it separate. Start becoming. You don't know your friends by their real names sometimes. That's Ray Rosas. No, it's not. It's Raymond Mejia. Like, you know what I mean? You start thinking that's Ruby Reyes. No, it's not. I won't say it. But yeah, so we start buying into that's Joey Chaos. No, that's Joseph Munoz. But so that's where that kayfabe is still alive. When I was in 2003 and I wrestled in Nashville, Tennessee, I got in trouble for talking to my opponent in the back with nobody around. Why am I getting in trouble? Because you're breaking fucking kayfabe. What if a fan came around the corner? What if? It was a bunch of what ifs. It didn't happen. What if? And I got yelled. I got my ass chewed out. And I'm coming from California where you could talk to the wrestler in the back. They might still say don't talk in the front. I think it's changed now. But that was 2003, and I got yelled at for not for breaking the kayfabe rule. You know, and it's yes. Go ahead. Yes.
Can I mention something about this?
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the things I hate right now. Like, social media is really cool and all that, but this is what I hate about social media when it comes to professional wrestling. And I'm gonna go to an example from Up All Night. I used to run book the show, write the show Up All Night for Santino Brothers, and I would book feuds, I'd book matches with animosity and stuff like that, and then I see people talking to each other on Twitter. I'm like, why? Why am I investing time into a professional wrestling show to show that you guys have animosity, and then you guys go and you're taking buddy pictures and posting them on Instagram? Why? Why are you even posting the show then? Like, why am I booking you guys in this stuff? I hate that. Personally, I hate that. And here's the thing that I never said out loud. When me and Bateman, after we broke up, we were actually still friends and we're still cool with each other. But when we went through the feud at Santino Brothers, I unfollowed him on Instagram. I unfollowed him on Twitter. I unfollowed him on my Ruby Ray's Facebook. And the only thing I ever kept him on was my private Facebook page that was for my family and for professors. I don't like this. And this is part of, like, when people say kayfabe is dead, maybe if it is, this is why. The curtain's being peeled back way too much on social media, and everybody's getting way too comfortable being chummy with everybody because they want to be liked, and because if they're liked, then they probably get the bookings here and there. But in my opinion, that just kills everything that you're working for out there. And yeah, okay, someone like Delilah Doom is one of my rivals, but I'll never tell her, hey, good match afterwards, after we do something, because that's not, in my opinion, what should be happening. And it took, I saw it before, but it took booking Up All Night to actually me, like, really see it and see what's going on and see what I'm trying to put across in a storyline, and then see it kind of just dissolve when you're posting a clip of, and I'm going to use Hyde as example. Hyde's posting a clip of him having a slap off with Cam at Up All Night, and then they're in a car together writing like, hey guys, how's it going? That's part of the kayfabe. That's part of when people break kayfabe like that. I think that really dissolves and pulls the curtain back a little bit too much, in my opinion. And I don't know about you, but Joey, but that's one of my things.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is, like, in acting, there is no, I don't know. I never heard of it, but there's no kayfabe in acting. There's kayfabe in professional wrestling. That's what separates it and makes it different than acting, right? It's kind of similar, like, oh, well, we're making movies or whatever. I'm the Tom Cruise, whatever. The difference is it's not Terry Bollea, it's Hulk Hogan. And that's so that there is kayfabe. It's still alive. And the way I like to think about it is there's two backstage curtains, right? So we open the backstage curtain and we let the fans behind backstage, and they think they know about kayfabe when there's actually a second curtain back there that they know nothing about. You know, and that's how I feel kayfabe is. So when people say kayfabe is that, I get it. We let them in. And here's the other thing. If I let you in on everything, and I talk to you the way I talk to you now about candidly about professional wrestling and how we work psychology, we do storytelling, we work on the promos, we sell kayfabe. I could tell you all this. Then I can probably go on there and I can still kayfabe you guys, because you guys would say, well, Joey wouldn't lie to me. Joey tells me everything. He's so truthful to me. Well, my job is now to say, well, now I hate Ruby Reyes because she turned on me and she was talking some mean shit about me because she didn't agree that Ric Flair is a great seller, so fuck her. You know, and if I really double down on it, I could probably make people believe that this is real because I let you backstage with me a little bit. What you think is backstage, I'll only tell you so much. You know, so that's why I believe it 100% that it's still alive. And when you say it's not alive, it's just that you don't know enough yet. You will. Hopefully you will one day. You'll know enough that know that it's still there 100%. People want to believe. They want to, right? We want to suspend our disbelief to understand that running the rope is legitimate in professional wrestling. You know, going to the top rope is legitimate in professional wrestling. So we believe these things so that way that it makes wrestling real. It makes that fantasy that we're watching real, right? If we just watched Sons of Anarchy or Walking Dead and was just like, this is stupid, that doesn't make any sense like this. I'm pretty sure a lot of us do, but how much do you enjoy it if you do that? You enjoy a lot more when you're like, no, I don't want the main character to die right now. He's not really going to die. He's an actor. But how many times you cry when a character died in a TV series? I know I have. I'm sitting there. I'm like, still, you're crying. 5 minutes later, I got a tear coming down. Like, damn, they got me. They got me, right? Because it makes you feel something. Right? So we talked about kayfabe. We talked all for 3 weeks about promos, right? And how promos will talk people into seats and selling. You know, selling is so important in professional wrestling, and there's so much about it, right? It's not just selling the boot to the stomach. You know, it's selling your promo. A lot of it has to do with facial expressions, eyes, mannerisms, and you're selling kayfabe. I think that's important. I don't think I never used to talk about it till these online classes about selling kayfabe. It's so important to sell it. You know, sell what's going on. Like you're selling kayfabe right now when people like El Primo Genio Traval, right? No, that's Jose Alberto Medina. Right? Jam. Yes, Jose Alberto Medina, right? And so it happens to us. So sell that kayfabe. You're going to start calling him Primo, and you don't even know his name, but you'll be like, I know that guy. Yeah, I know him. I see him every week. What's his real name? I don't know. What's Damien 666 real name? I don't know. It's Damien 666, right? No, you fucking Mark. He's got a real name. Oh, I didn't know. I knew him as that. So thinking about that, right? We're getting kayfabe. We think it's Damien 666, and it's really not, right? But you know, so it's so important to sell that kayfabe, sell the promos, right? Because you're selling the match. You're selling people into the seats. Willie, you have a question, my friend?
Yes, sir. I'm just gonna ask, like, when is it too much to sell the kayfabe? Like, you mentioned Andy Kaufman, and he had that character, Tony Liston, I think his name, or I forget the character's name. But when he got into that character, he would just like oversell his character. Like he was that guy. Like there was no Andy Kaufman. Like that guy didn't exist. It was this guy. He completely had the character. You know, and people were annoyed by this guy backstage because he would show up as this character and they'd be like, Andy, we need to talk about this. And he would be like, where's Andy? And like, they just couldn't, I'm not saying I want to be that, but when is too much, you know, like me calling, like, you know, like, where do you?
You'll be called a mark for yourself. But I believe, and this is me telling you in this class right now, like I come from that. That's the way I would do it. I think Andy Kaufman was an incredible pro wrestler in that aspect of making you believe who that character was. I think Joaquin Phoenix did it some years later with a band and grew a beard out and said he was quitting acting, but he was doing it for a movie role. How much is too much? I would keep it real with your friends, but you're going to get heat from other colleagues in professional wrestling, and probably not the fans. The fans will love that shit, that you're always in character. They want you in character. You know, like Supreme would always tell me that they don't want Joey. They want Rock Superstar Chaos with the blonde hair and the sunglasses, and you should be flexing on these guys and acting like the Rock Superstar Chaos. And he would always tell me that. I'd be like, I don't want to get no heat. But I think you have to. And that's what I would believe. I'd go all the way, man. If you could do some Andy Kaufman shit, I would. And I would never tell anybody but you're close. I would tell Sylvia. And I would tell Mongo. Maybe Ruby's around, I'll tell her, but I wouldn't be. I try not to tell anybody. I'd probably tell Sylvia and call it a day. I'm wrapping it up. But the best part is, right, when you say, hey, that was all the work. But a real kayfaber is just going to say, hey, it is what it is. I don't need the credit. You know, it is what it is. I sold it. You know, that's the true wrestling. Can you still get away with it? Yeah, I think so. It's hard, though. You got to deep dive all the way into it, and people will get mad at you. I think more of the wrestlers and the fans. You'll have your people that'll know what's going on, so they'll be in on it. But if you're real smart, you'll tell nobody, man.
I think that's a good point right there. And I'm gonna go back again to social media. One of the things I've hated the most is seeing, I believe it was Dickinson versus Kimberly. And Dickinson was just an ass to Kimberly in the ring, and Kimberly cut a promo afterwards saying that it was okay. She consented to this match. She agreed to everything in the match. That she did this, that she did that. That was completely breaking kayfabe in my opinion. And then you have Eli versus B-Boy, which Eli was supposed to be taking an ass whooping by B-Boy because of the disrespectful things, which Eli did say disrespectful things about wrestling on the internet. And then afterwards, a tweet came out like, told you guys kayfabe is still alive. These are the things that I that are breaking that. But you have to realize too, and I don't know if sometimes going in all in on kayfabe will get you hated because of the person you are, because of the persona you're putting across. It can also get you hated, get you legit heat, get you in trouble. I'll use myself as an example on this. There was something that I did on the road in Louisiana where I German suplexed a girl into an open chair, and she was completely consensual to it. I did it. I hit the target. She didn't break the chair. She rolled over the back of the chair and into the ropes, and we actually had set up, I'm telling you guys this, and if you post this, Joey, please edit this out. I don't want this to come out.
Yeah, B-Boy, Eli said some disrespectful stuff. B-Boy on the clip, he actually threw him over the pole and onto the ground. B-Boy threw Eli, and the clip said, "Veteran teaches like disrespectful youngster," and this thing went viral. And like I guess it was like William Regal, a couple of big industry heads commented on it, and B-Boy was like, "I don't want to get no heat," so he came out and said, "Hey, this is it, right?" And I was like, why? I was like, Ruby, why? As I said, because these guys are fucking marks and they believe what the fuck you're doing. Like, that's some mark ass shit. Whoever fucking commented and was trying to give B-Boy heat, that's some mark ass shit on your end, and you're supposed to be an industry leader. That would have been my comeback in a personal note to them and said, dude, don't act like a fucking mark, bro. Like, come on. We're supposed to be colleagues. But yeah, ask me, go with it 100%. Never tell anyone. 100%. But yeah.
Take your heat, bro. If you got to take your heat from it.
Yeah.
Just work through it. Just
right,
like a match.
Because at the end of the day, whoever's mad at you, you can go into a private message and go, hey, dude, are you really a mark? Like, you really believe this shit? Like, you're really trying to be mad at me for some wrestling shit? Like, you hit some dude with the chair last week. You don't see me getting all pissed at you. Like, what the fuck, you mark? They're going to fucking feel like this, and they're probably never going to talk about it again. I'd be like, wow, you're a fucking mark, Joey. Like, you are so mad about this spot, and it's a fucking work. They'll start coming up with it was reckless. It was this. Shut up, dude. Wrestling is not safe. But yeah, so the different types of selling, I think kayfabe is so important. The promos, right? Selling asses to seats, and then the actual moves and moments, right? The moments between the moves and selling. So, yeah, we're a little bit over on time, 5 minutes. I want to thank Ruby Reyes for coming in today. Before we end, does anybody have any questions on the selling of what we covered today? Pretty. I got Philip. Philip, my friend.
Would it be part of selling never giving up your body parts to your opponent, like in advance of them doing the move to like help them get into moves? They have to take your arm to do an arm, or they have to take your leg to do
100%, right? Going back to, you have to earn it. Am I going to pull my arm in too much? No, I'm going to play the game. But if they're holding it weak, I'm going to pull it back. You know, if they lay my arm down, you'll see this all the time. If they lay my arm down and then they don't hold it down, they don't step on my fingers, right? They don't step on my fingers, and they just leave my hand there and they try to give it a leg drop or a stomp or an elbow. You know what I'll do? If you just lay my hand there and leave it there, I'll pull it in and let you leg drop nothing, because I thought that's asinine, right? So I don't want to oversell too much to that point. But yeah, so I would, and then I wouldn't want to sell over too much where they're pulling it and I really am holding it in. I have to play the game. But I think that's a great point, Phil. Is right where we're aware of our power meter. You know, maybe when our power meter is all the way down, then our arm can just lay there, and we're not going to have any power to pull it away, or even have the smarts to do it. But yeah, that's a great point, Phil.
And I was using The Rock as an example of selling the stunner, because he oversold it, but he was still The Rock. You know, even he can still oversell moves in the right moment. You know, so.
Yeah, I always loved The Rock style. I think he would spit out the beer too at the same time. But yeah, there's a lot of great sellers. I'll put some videos up for everybody to watch tonight. And that's gonna be it for today about selling. I'll put the notes up, so I hope everybody took out some great notes. Thank you, Ruby Reyes, for joining us today. I really love your insight and everything that you provide, especially on the selling days. So all right, everybody, let's bring it in. Santino's on 3. Santino's on 3. 1, 2, 3. Santino!
Yay!
All right, everybody, have a good night. Have a good evening. Be safe. Watch some Monday Night Raw, some Monday Night Football. And I will see you again on Wednesday.
Hey, Grace.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you, Ruby.
Thank
you, Ruby.
Thanks, guys. Joey,
Yes.
when's Prime Time coming back?